Is an accident, sir.
I call the Honourable Member Rajan Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pleased to take a call on part one and to ask a few questions. Ordinarily, Mr. Chairman, we would be at this stage of a bill with a lot more information, because the bill would have gone through select committee and a whole host of people who have an interest in doing the census, as well as in statistics and people who use data would have given a lot of advice. And we don't know what that is. So I wonder whether the Minister could explain what are the implications of this change to 2013 and that 7-year gap that we will now have. And what are statisticians saying and demographers saying about that change? What kind of adjustments will need to be made to the data so that there is some comparability down the line, and that users of the data will have some way of doing that, is some way of knowing or working out what that is. The data sets we currently have go back to 1975. It's about a 35-year data set, regular period, same time. This will be changed forever, in a sense, by going to a 7-year gap and then 5 years after that. And I wonder what advice the Minister has received about those changes and what the implications might be. But more fundamentally, a select committee would have given us the opportunity to actually examine, however briefly, and this material can be brought together quite quickly, about the modern census, so to speak. The Minister has said, he's asked some questions about, I think he said questions about modern census, but he had no answers. Now, what were the questions the Minister asked, and what was his thinking about the kinds of parameters a modern census might have? Censuses have not always been the same, for the hundreds of years censuses have been done. But now we have so much, the technology has changed here. The data that's regularly collected in all kinds of ways is also available in different sources now. So what was the Minister thinking about that data? And perhaps more fundamentally, there also is a move now not to do census, but to do a census through surveys. And having those surveys quite almost like a series of cross-sectional studies that tell you what's happening to your population, and doing them more regularly. Why is it that the Minister has not taken this opportunity? Because this opportunity comes quite rarely, to have this kind of thinking done around census change, new methodologies, and new ways of using data. Now, and if the kind of consultation that we have in mind, and which is why this side is opposing this bill, even users of census would identify different types of data that now require. And here was an opportunity through a select committee to have that kind of discussion. Now, my colleague Raymond Ho has talked quite a bit about the need for data in the Maori community, and appropriately so. There is the New Zealand's diversification now, ethnically, is quite advanced. And we only have so much data about that. And in the last 6 months or so, I've been going through the data myself. And you can see the holes that is in that data. And yet here was an opportunity to really reflect on the kind of data our ethnic communities require, and those who provide services for them, engage with them, etc. So has the Minister not given any thought to that? Or what advice has the Minister received about the kind of data that would help us understand that diversification in greater depth? Maybe the Minister has thought about that. Maybe he can give us some reading on what his thoughts are about that. But essentially, different types of methods, different types of data, the views of the key people out there who both are experts like demographers and statisticians, but also the users of data, and whether the Minister could tell us what was it thinking, and if there's been any conversation with them, then what are their concerns at this stage that have been identified. And if you get some idea onto that. And finally, that was the question of what will be the implications of the 7-year gap. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The question is that Part 1 stand part. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Part 2 stand part. Honourable members, I wish to advise you it's debates on clauses 5 and 6. I invite some member to seek the call.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry. I call the Honourable Member Charles Chevelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.